So group behavior is when individuals of a species work together to help each other out. And this is something that has been, we can see this a lot in the animal kingdom, like all these penguins here helping to protect the babies and rear each other's babies. This is something we see a lot in the animal kingdom where the population, the species help each other. And it has been shown that this is something that has evolved. This behavior has evolved. It's an adaptation. So it increases the group's fitness. So as a group, they have a better chance of survival, better chance of eating and reproducing. So in this picture, they're helping each other, actually have that baby survive, the first year. And group behavior is something that has been selected for. We've been able to show that that is something that's been selected for in certain organisms. So it is under the umbrella of natural selection and evolution. Now, some examples of group behavior include, oh, where's my picture? Herding. This is a picture of wildebeest, a big group of wildebeest. So you see herding or herds of organisms. A lot of them are herbivores, but like wildebeest, zebras, horses, cows, they live together in these big groups, and that helps increase their chance of survival. So they're working together, living together in a group. One way it helps increase their chance of survival is if a predator comes along when they're in a big group, their chance of being eaten decreases. Someone's probably going to get eaten, but the individual's probability becomes less. But if you're one organism out by yourself and a predator comes along, your chance of being eaten is much higher. So living in a group, you do decrease your chance of being taken by a predator. You also increase like the ability to find resources, and you share habitat, so you can have more organisms on one piece of land. So that increases fitness and survival. And it also increases the chance of finding a mate. So if you're off by yourself and living individually, it might be harder to find someone to mate with and pass on your genes and increase your fitness, right? Because reproducing is part of fitness. So another type of group behavior is with fish, schooling. Now, it's similar to herding, but there are some other differences, other added benefits in that the fish, when they school together, they actually look like a bigger organism. So other fish, like sharks and stuff, can't see color. And that's why, like in the coral reefs, you see these really pretty fish with like lots of different patterns, and even in schooling fish, because the sharks, its predator can't see that color. And so it just looks like a broken up piece of something and not in the shape of a fish. So it's actually camouflage. But schooling helps also create that. It's harder to see. They look like they are bigger. So it protects the group. It decreases their chance of being eaten. Another example of group behavior is with group hunting. So a lot of dog type animals, wolves and coyotes and hyenas, will hunt in groups where they end up surrounding their prey, and makes it easier for them to, kill the prey, and then they share the food that gets from that hunt. Now there are costs to these group behaviors. All right. Sometimes if you have too many individuals, there's not going to be enough food. So they're sharing habitat and food, but you get too big, it makes it so there's not enough food for everybody. And another thing that can happen when you get in big groups is that you're increasing your disease transmission. The more individuals there are, the closer they are together, the easier it is for viruses and bacteria, pathogenic bacteria, to transfer between organisms. So there is a cost. So the benefits have to outweigh the cost, right? So there has to be enough benefit increase in fitness to maintain a certain size of these groups. Another type of group behavior is with altruistic behavior. And this is really interesting. So altruistic behavior is behavior that increases the individual's fitness, but increases the fitness of others. So we've talked about natural selection being about survival of the fittest, like If you're the fastest one, then you can, survive and you can reproduce. But with altruistic behaviors, one individual is putting themselves at risk or putting themselves in a place where they're going to have less fitness, a less ability to survive and reproduce to help everyone else. So it seems to go against what natural selection does. So some examples of altruistic behavior are warning calls, like this prairie dog here. He sees a predator, and the prairie dogs and other rodents are known for doing this. They will see a predator. The one who sees the predator will scream and warn everyone else. And so everyone can get back in their burrows and hide. But that one who's screaming, he's drawing attention to himself, and he's more likely to be eaten. So his individual fitness has decreased, but he's just helped the fitness of others. Vampire bats and other bats are known for sharing food. So, at dusk, they leave their cave or their den and they go out and hunt, and then they come back. And if there's individuals who were not able to find enough food, those who found enough will share their food. So this is it looks like they're kissing, but he's actually transferring food. Kind of gross. There's also lots of examples in nature where others will help rear young. This happens a lot with like siblings. So in birds, so the first clutch of eggs, they are raised and they're out of the nest and they're flying around and they are of reproductive age, but a lot of times they will stay and help raise the next group of eggs. So they're siblings. So again, they're decreasing their fitness because they're giving up a chance to reproduce to help others. Now, kin selection is possibly how altruistic behaviors first began. Okay, so kin selection is an idea of how what we would think is so unusual, evolved and developed. And kin selection is when individuals are helping those that they are closely related to. So the word kin, that means like family, right? That's my kin. So originally it's believed that altruistic behaviors started with closely related individuals because it had to do with DNA. So if you're closely related, then you share a lot of DNA. So if you're helping someone else who you're closely related with, that's your same DNA, a lot of the same genes, so you're helping your genes get passed on. All right. Some examples are parents protecting their young, like this fierce mama lion. And that doesn't happen in all animals and all organisms, right? Think of baby sea turtles, they're just kind of left to their own. But that is kin selection, protecting your child. That is your DNA, your genetic code there. That I mentioned helping raise siblings. With the queen bee, the drones, they actually don't reproduce, but they are genetically related to the queen. So they help and protect and support her and the colony. Now, kin selection doesn't explain why some will help others of different species or help others that aren't related to them or like really distantly related to them. So that's still kind of a question. Like, why is that happening? Why is this, especially with different species, why is this bird helping this other bird that's not even related to it? Now, they have done studies where they have witnessed a selfish individual in an altruistic group not do well. So, for example, with vampire bats, if the bat comes back and the selfish guy got a lot of food that night and wasn't willing to share, then that individual is selfish within the group. And next time, if he doesn't get food, then the group won't help him. So and his fitness goes down. So they witnessed this, that selfish individuals in that altruistic group does not do well, and their overall fitness is decreased compared to the others in the group. All right, the next thing that gets talked about in this lesson is the idea of good data. All right, and this is, I think, an important reminder, and we've talked about in previous lessons. But when we're looking at data, scientific data, or any data, we need to think, is it good data? And for data to be good, it needs to be valid and reliable. Right, those are the two important things for good, quote unquote, good data. Is the data valid? Is it reliable? And some things to think about if you're trying to determine if data is valid is, what's the source of the data? Who did the study? Who funded the study? So where is this information coming from? So that's a good thing to think about if you're looking for the validity. And then, is it a controlled experiment? Because you want a controlled experiment. That gives you more, makes it seem like a more valid experiment. If they have a control and an experimental group, was it rigorous? Were they really trying to control all these different variables? Did they talk about all these different variables and include how they could affect different things? Does it seem rigorous? Do they have multiple treatments for each variable? So not just one control, but multiple. So that way you have more faith in what they're saying. It's more valid. Reliable data, to determine if your data is reliable, is it reproducible? So again, having multiple treatments for each setup, the control and the variable, or the control and the experimental setup, having multiple there, but also having other studies come up with the same conclusions. All right, so having other studies at a completely different lab in another area did something similar, they get the same results, that seems more reliable than just one group saying it. Also, if you can have different scenarios lead to the same result, so maybe you're looking at different organisms or looking at it from different angles and it's all kind of leading to the same thing, it seems more reliable. And those are the ways to determine if data is valid and reliable. And that is all. If you have any questions, please reach out.